The billionaire came home early, angry, cold, and already yelling into his phone when he saw something impossible. His paralyzed daughter, in the arms of their black driver, dancing. Her wheelchair sat nearby, empty. Music played. She was laughing. The man holding her whispered something, and she smiled like she had not since the accident. But the billionaire's voice thundered across the garden. The driver froze. What happened next left the entire staff in tears and revealed a truth the billionaire had hidden for years. Langston Vale was not the type of man who cried. Not at his wife's funeral, not when the markets crashed, not even when a drunk driver shattered his only daughter's spine and stole the life she once had. He built walls around his heart, around his home, around his daughter. Claire had not walked in over a year, and laughter, that sound had died the night of the crash. Since then, she had lived like a ghost in the east wing of the mansion, beautiful, broken, and silent. Langston did everything money could. He built her a custom spa wing, hired doctors from Switzerland, bought the most expensive wheelchair in the world, made of titanium and whisper-soft leather. But she still stared out of windows like they were tombstones, and she still did not speak to him. So when Langston came home early that afternoon, cutting his Tokyo meeting short because of an odd feeling in his chest, the last thing he expected was music. And not the polished strings of a string quartet, but something else, something alive. As he walked toward the garden, still on the phone with his assistant, he heard it. Drums, rhythm, soul. Then he stopped. The phone slipped from his hand. There she was, Claire, not in her chair, not staring at the wind, but in someone's arms. She was swaying. Her head rested on a shoulder, and she was smiling. Langston's stomach twisted when he saw who was holding her. The driver. Jamal. The young black man he had barely spoken to since hiring him through the agency. A man with no credentials beyond a spotless license and calm voice. A man Langston never even looked in the eye. Jamal was holding his daughter like she was made of glass, yet dancing like they were floating. Every step was careful, reverent, loving. Then Claire laughed, and Langston snapped. "Hey!" The music stopped. Jamal froze, his arms still supporting Claire. Langston stormed toward them. "What do you think you're doing? Put her down, now!" Jamal did not flinch. He looked the billionaire in the eye. "I would never hurt her, sir. Please, he was helping me feel something. You never dance with me. You never even look at me." Langston's jaw tightened. "You think dancing makes her better? You think you can just touch her?" Jamal slowly placed Claire back in her chair with the same care one might lower a crown. Then he stood, quiet, unafraid. "I do not think I can fix her," Jamal said. "But I see her. And, sir, you don't." Claire sobbed softly. Langston turned away, but his hands were trembling. Because deep inside something was breaking. And what Jamal was about to reveal next would unearth a secret the billionaire had buried long ago, one that would change everything. Langston Vale stormed back into the mansion, slamming the doors behind him. His heart was racing, but it was not anger. It was fear, shame, something he had locked away for too long. He stared at his trembling hands. "Where were you when she begged to go dancing, Langston?" He whispered to himself, but he shoved the thought down like he always did. Pain was weakness, and he had a legacy to uphold. Back outside, Claire sat quietly in her wheelchair. Her eyes were damp, but steady. Jamal knelt beside her, still calm. He did not try to explain. He did not need to. Claire simply whispered, "He saw." Jamal nodded. Inside, Langston barked at the head butler. "Fire him. I don't care if he saved the Pope. He touched my daughter." The butler paused. Sir, before you make that call, there is something you should see. Langston growled, "What now?" The butler handed him a dusty leather photo album Langston had not seen in over a decade. He flipped it open and froze. There she was, Claire. No older than 6, smiling, in a pink dress, standing on his father's shoes while he danced with her in the study. That was the last time she had danced. Tears stung Langston's eyes, but he blinked them away. "That was before your wife died," the butler said gently, "and before you buried your heart with her." Langston shut the album. "She is safer in that chair than in some stranger's arms. Is she living, sir, or just breathing?" That night, Langston stood at the edge of the garden, watching from the shadows. Claire was back in her room, alone. Her music had gone silent, but Jamal had not left. He stood outside by the gate, bag in hand, waiting for the car to take him away. Langston finally stepped forward. "You are not who you say you are you?" Jamal turned. He did not deny it. Langston's voice grew colder. "You are not just some agency driver. I had a background check done. There are gaps in your file. Your last job was at the VA hospital. Why?" Jamal hesitated. "Because I was a patient." Langston narrowed his eyes. Jamal continued, "I served in Afghanistan, lost 2 friends in a convoy explosion. I couldn't walk for 6 months. Doctors said I'd never dance again." He looked down. "But someone held me up when I needed it most. Not to walk, not to recover, just to remind me I was still human." Langston's voice softened for the first time. "Why her?" Jamal looked toward Claire's darkened window. "Because when I saw her, I saw the same look I had. That silent scream, when the world forgets who you were before the pain. I was just trying to help her remember, even for a minute." Langston felt something collapse inside his chest. Guilt, grief, and something else. Truth. Then Jamal reached into his bag and pulled out a worn envelope. "I was going to give her this before I left, but maybe it is better if you see it first." He handed it to Langston. Inside was a faded photo of Langston's late wife, smiling, holding a little boy. Langston's hands shook. "What is this?" Jamal met his gaze. "That little boy was me."
Langston Vale stared at the photo in his hand. It was impossible, but it was real. His late wife, Isabel, was sitting on a park bench, glowing in the summer light, holding a little black boy who looked no older than 5. Her arms were wrapped tightly around him. Her smile was soft, familiar. On the back of the photo, written in her elegant handwriting, were just 4 words. "My heart. My promise." Langston's throat tightened. This is not you," he said, though his voice betrayed the doubt in his heart. Jamal stepped forward, carefully. "It was the last summer before she died. Your wife, she volunteered at our shelter every weekend. I was in the system. No parents, no name anyone remembered. But she remembered me." Langston shook his head. "No, Isabel would have told me." "She tried," Jamal said gently, "but you were too busy, too buried in deals, boardrooms, and numbers to notice her anymore. She told me that, too." Langston turned away, face pale. "You were lying." Jamal reached into his jacket. He pulled out a folded letter, yellowed by time. She left this for you. She gave it to the shelter director the day she passed, said you might never read it, but she wanted me to keep it anyway." Langston's hands trembled as he opened the letter. It began, "My dearest Langston, I know you think I spend too much time at the shelter with the children you say are not our responsibility. But there is one child who has changed my soul. His name is Jamal. He reminds me of what love looks like without expectations. He reminded me who I was before the world hardened us both. If I am gone, and if this reaches you, please remember what it feels like to dance in the kitchen. Please remember that sometimes saving someone else's life might just save your own. Langston's throat tightened. This is not you, he said, though his voice betrayed the doubt in his heart. Jamal stepped forward carefully. It was the last summer before she died. Your wife, she volunteered at our shelter every weekend. I was in the system. No parents, no name anyone remembered. But she remembered me. Langston shook his head. No, Isabel would have told me. She tried, Jamal said gently, but you were too busy, too buried in deals, boardrooms, and numbers to notice her anymore. She told me that too. Langston turned away, face pale. You are lying. Jamal reached into his jacket. He pulled out a folded letter, yellowed by time. She left this for you. She gave it to the shelter director the day she passed, said you might never read it, but she wanted me to keep it anyway. Langston's hands trembled as he opened the letter. It began, My dearest Langston, I know you think I spend too much time at the shelter, with the children you say are not our responsibility. But there is one child who has changed my soul. His name is Jamal. He reminds me of what love looks like without expectations. He reminded me who I was before the world hardened us both. If I am gone, and if this reaches you, please remember what it feels like to dance in the kitchen. Please remember that sometimes saving someone else's life might just save your own. Langston could no longer hold back the tears. His breath caught as guilt clawed up his spine. He had buried her with every tender word she left behind. He had ignored the light she tried to carry. And now, somehow, that light was standing right in front of him, fully grown, holding his daughter like she was not broken, like she was still whole. You knew who Claire was this whole time? Langston asked hoarsely. Yes, but I did not come here for favors. I did not want a connection to power. I just wanted to return what your wife gave me. Langston stared at him. Which was? Jamal's voice cracked. The belief that I was not forgotten, that I still mattered. Silence settled between them. Then a voice cut through the air like wind through glass. I remember that photo, Claire said. Both men turned. She had wheeled herself to the door. Her eyes were red. Her voice was steady. That park? Mom used to take me there. She told me once, that little boy I used to hug, I hope someone hugs him back one day, just like he deserves. I never knew what she meant until now. Jamal looked at her, eyes wide. Claire rolled forward, looked at her father, then at Jamal, and then whispered, You are family, aren't you? Langston could barely speak, but his next words shattered the mansion's silence like thunder in a chapel. Yes, he is. But the real test of truth and forgiveness was still to come, because the media was about to find out, and everything was about to explode. The story could have ended quietly. Langston Vale could have apologized, rehired Jamal in secret, and quietly kept his family's past hidden. But fate had other plans. The very next morning, a photographer, hidden across the street, captured a moment that would set the internet on fire. A billionaire's paralyzed daughter laughing in the arms of their black chauffeur, her wheelchair visible behind them, her smile radiant. The headline read, Who is he? Mystery man dances billionaire's daughter out of her chair. Within hours, it was everywhere. At first, the media ran wild with speculation. Was he a bodyguard? A boyfriend? A publicity stunt? Langston's phone exploded with calls from board members, sponsors, and one particularly smug journalist who asked, "How long before your brand collapses?" But this time, Langston did not slam the phone down. He did not hide. Instead, he called a press conference. The world expected denial. What they got was something else. That evening, standing on the steps of his estate, in front of over 20 dozen reporters, Langston Vale appeared with Claire by his side, and Jamal standing just behind her, silent but proud. Langston took the microphone. His voice was rough. "I have built my career on control, but the truth is, I lost control a long time ago, when I let grief turn me into a stranger to my own daughter. And worse, when I forgot the soul of the woman I once loved." He turned to Jamal. "This man is not just a driver. He is not an employee. He is someone my wife once saved with love, and now he has returned that same love to my daughter when I failed to." Cameras flashed. Claire smiled softly. Langston continued, "Yes, my daughter is paralyzed, but she is not broken. She is not fragile. She is strong, brilliant, and deserves to feel joy. And thanks to Jamal, she dances again." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Jamal stepped forward, placing a hand on Claire's shoulder, but she reached up and held it. Reporters shouted questions. "Is he staying on your staff? Are they in love? Is he family now?" Langston raised his hand. "Jamal is not staff. As of this moment, he is co-founder of a foundation Claire and I are launching in Isabel's name, dedicated to helping children with disabilities and foster youth find healing through art, music, and movement." More flashes, more gasps, but none louder than Claire's whisper, "You really mean that?" Langston knelt in front of her and took her hands. "For too long, I saw you as someone I needed to protect. But now I see the truth. You were never the one who needed saving. I was." Tears spilled down her cheeks. Then she looked up at Jamal. "Will you dance with me again?" she asked, her voice trembling. He nodded, and as the cameras rolled, music began to play. Soft, soulful, honest. He lifted her once more, gently, lovingly. And, under the mansion lights, they danced. But this time, her father watched, not with fear, but with pride. And the world did not just see a billionaire's daughter and a former orphan. They saw something else. They saw love return to a family that had forgotten how to feel. They saw healing that no money could buy. And for once, the internet did not tear it apart. It stood in awe.